Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're taking a look at NIO. This will be a good video because NIO pre-market tradings, they're looking good. The market actually closed yesterday almost $10 flat. $10, 1 cent. That's quite impressive. Now pre-market trading are looking even better. Price right now for pre-market trading, $10, 22 cents. So it's still going up. That's quite impressive. But what we really have to talk about today is the coming competition for NIO. So in case you're wondering who's that competition, well, it's Polestar. It's Polestar Automotive. Polestar, aftermarket trading, it's getting ridiculously close to $8. That's actually quite impressive. That's actually very impressive, but this puts us in an interesting position because the market cap for Polestar, 16.49 billion, almost 16.5 billion, am I right? The market cap for NIO, 16.98 billion, almost 17 billion. The differences are less than 500 million. So could Polestar overtake NIO quite soon? The aftermarket trading are suggesting that Polestar could. Aftermarket trading, NIO is up 2.2%. Aftermarket trading for Polestar is up 1.53%. Now the reason why Polestar has an advantage is because Polestar is a global company. NIO is only in a few selective markets. They're still taking their time to establish themselves in Europe, Denmark, Sweden, Germany, places like that. The majority of NIO vehicles being sold, it's in China. Polestar, on the other hand, they're selling Polestar vehicles in 28 different countries, 28 different markets. Really impressive. They recently released their Q3 earnings call. That was really impressive. They also built their first 100,000 Polestar 2s. Really impressive stuff. But despite the fact that we're not even at the end of Q4 yet and the Polestar shares are doing so incredibly well, it's a surprise. So is NIO under threat? A little bit. What if Polestar becomes a more valuable company than NIO? Will that be a problem? Of course not. It doesn't really change much. But if we look at the biggest EV companies by market cap, Polestar is now in 5th, NIO is in 4th. Ideally, NIO and Polestar should rightfully be above Lucid and Rivian because NIO and Polestar, they're doing way better than Rivian and Lucid. Arguably, Lucid is doing really well recently. I think they're looking to hit at least 20 to 25,000 vehicles built this year, which is really impressive considering that they started from zero this year. Really impressive stuff from Rivian. Now on to NIO. Why NIO shares sank on Monday? Now today, it's Wednesday. Pre-markets are looking good for NIO. We are in the recovery stage. But let's not forget that on Friday, everything changed last week on Friday. Shares were above $10.49. The share fell below $10. That was the big headline, that NIO shares, they fell below $10. That was on Monday. So the shares did have a big hit on Monday. But now I feel as if we're in the recovery stage. And because the pre-market trading are doing so well, it's given a sign that NIO could recover quite well even before the end of this week. But we might be a bit longer from seeing NIO reach to $11 or $12 once again. We might be a few weeks out, and that's if this positive momentum turns around. So NIO management held predicted significant sales growth in the final 2 months of 2022. A new surge in the pandemic cases have already resulted in a 5 days lockdown of the large port city. So it's not all that positive for NIO, and that's primarily why the market has been having such a negative effect towards NIO. China reports its first COVID-19 death in 6 months this weekend. And lockdowns could have a negative results for NIO. That's what's on everyone's mind right now, unfortunately. Shares of many Chinese-based companies are plunging. This was on Monday amid renewed fears of the pandemic-related lockdown in the country. That includes the stock electric vehicle maker NIO. But of course, I believe this is a panic. This is all part of a panic, which is why I think that NIO shares could recover quite well in the next couple of weeks, perhaps even before the end of this week. Which means that for Polestar to overtake NIO, Polestar will have to do way better than I expect. But both companies, aftermarket, they're looking good. But right now, Polestar is dealing with a lot of positive momentum. Now, don't get me wrong. Earlier this year, Polestar had their factory shut down as well. I think that was related to the Shanghai shutdown. That was big. That was really negative for Polestar. but their shares hit at almost $4 per share, extremely undervalued, which was a great time for a lot of people to buy, and so they did. People realized that Polestar was undervalued and they needed to invest as soon as possible. So what happens now? When NIO reported its third quarter results earlier this month, NIO provided encouraged estimates for its fourth quarter vehicle deliveries. Yeah, I was really encouraged. It looked really good, like despite the difficulties, they're still doing relatively well. But because of this new case, because of this new fear of pandemic or another shutdown, just another shutdown could have a small negative effect in the market. So it has investors concerned about how Chinese leaders will work to stem the spread of the latest outbreak. 3 deaths were attributed to the virus in Beijing over the weekend, and the southern port city of Guangzhou has already ordered a 5-day lockdown of its most populous district. So NIO shares jumped after the company reported third quarter results on November the 10th, predicting fourth quarter deliveries as many as 48,000 vehicles. That would be incredible for NIO. That compares with 31,000 in the third quarter. That's really impressive, and it implies a significant acceleration of sales in November and December. But investors' fear of the rising COVID-19 cases could now increase the risk of NIO will again be impacted by the strict policies used to contain those cases. So NIO and other EV makers in the country have already had to face production delays, supply chain challenges, and of course customers' demands caused by prior restriction, including city lockdown. So overall, it's just a negative setback for NIO. But nevertheless, I do think that they will recover from this quite easily because it's just a small tumble in the market. If the outbreak does get extremely bad, if the lockdowns do get extremely bad, then NIO will be affected remarkably unfortunate. But hopefully it doesn't get to that stage. If it doesn't get to that stage, NIO will be fine. But that's it for this video. Just a quick video on NIO, just a quick update on the share price. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to see more. And of course, I will see you in our next video.